What's the greatest advice you've ever been given? Like from, because obviously, like you say, you've met a lot of your heroes. Was there anything that any of them said to you that kind of really made a difference with your playing? It's a hard one, isn't it, to think?
Yeah. Actually, Pat Smear said something to me once. He said, like, because I think I was telling him, I was, not, you don't get, what's the word? Like, I can get a bit bogged down, like living on social media and you see all these guitar players and you compare yourself and sometimes, and you can kind of think, oh, not good enough. And then I get a bit of imposter syndrome. And then I'm like, oh, like they're way better than me. Like, why am I doing this? Whatever. And Pat just said, like, look, there's always going to be some 12-year-old kid in Mississippi that can smoke all of us. So just be the best version of you and forget about everyone else. And I was like, so true. And it's whenever I kind of get that big bogged down, I'm like, no, just go pick your guitar up and just, work on your vibrato and what makes you, you kind of thing. So that was probably the best, advice I've got. Yeah.
That is great advice, actually, because I think we all suffer with that, don't we? It's always, like you say, with social media, it's always in your face, like this person doing this amazing thing and that and that. And it's just, I don't think you had that in the past. It wasn't always there for you to see, to remind you of, oh, okay, maybe I'm not so great. Or,
Yeah, and it's
compare
like,
yourself, like you say.
a friend of mine, Chris Buck, who's actually his
Oh, I
band's
love Chris. I know
yeah,
Chris. Yeah.
yeah, like he did a great video on his YouTube. It was because he was saying about the same kind of thing, and like he's amazing, and he's probably one of the people. I did the fucking stupidest thing. I got his band to open up for my band. That means I've got to follow him every fucking night. Why on earth did I do that?
Yeah. He's
Because
so,
I'm a nice guy.
I know he's crazy, and I'm really pleased that he's going out playing now as well, because I know he was just doing the YouTube thing for a
Yeah.
while. And no, I think it's great that he's out there and we get to experience him live. So yeah, but what were you were saying that he
Yeah, he did a video kind of like breaking it down because, see all these people like ripping solos online, but you don't see like all the shit takes beforehand or like how they got to that point to do that solo. And it was just great because it's like, yeah, you got to remember everyone's human. They're just, it's showing the best version of themselves on like that one take, is perfect. But you don't see all the ones beforehand. And then you've got to remind yourself of that as well. Like, you know, everyone's human and just, again, like just focus on yourself, be the best version of yourself, really. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. Do the best version of you, and what makes you unique is everyone's different, everyone plays different, so just
that is the beauty of playing an instrument, and especially a guitar. It's like no one sounds the same, do they? You can take elements of Eddie Van Halen or Page or Beck or whatever, but it's still going to be your own soup at the end of the day because it's your personality.
And I think everyone's just influenced by usually a few, 3 or 4 or 5 players. So like Brian May was influenced by XYZ, and then they make their own little, like you say, soup of that, and that makes that's what makes them. And I'm the same, and I guess
Is there you talk about that with having the fear sometimes. Has it ever got to a point where it's hindered you? Have you, when you're about to go on stage, or because there must have been moments like bloody supporting Queen. Obviously, you talk about Brian being a huge influence on you. It must be moments where you're like, oh my God, my fingers are frozen. I can't move them. It's the fear of it. Like, they're not going to do what I want them to
do. Yeah, I've had it. Yeah, I'm better now, but I remember like we did America's Got Talent with this girl called Courtney. She was one of the contestants on it, and we had to play what's the song called? "Little Piece of My Heart" by Janis Joplin. And it was like the easiest because we literally found out we were doing it the day before, flew in, and then it was obviously live TV, and this was the one bit like down come on, but it's just like this simple little like kind of like country kind of lick, and I was absolutely shitting myself before going on stage because we hadn't rehearsed it properly because we literally had to fly in and we didn't have time. And we had to go from our song into that song. And it was, all the band stops and I had to just it's so simple. Like I could play it with fucking behind my back, eyes closed now. I probably could have done. But it's just before I was going on stage, I was just like looking at my hand, like shaking and like, stop, you know, you're going to be all right. But I was just like, fuck, what if you mess it up? You're on live TV, everyone's going to see. And then like, you think, oh, you know, all your anxieties come out. Like, I already think I'm shit. Oh, everyone's going to think I'm shit. And anyway, fucking nailed it. So I was fine. But, that's the only real time I remember just being petrified. And TV in general is, because you know it's going to live on YouTube forever. So usually get nervous for that. For playing shows, not so much. I get a bit nervous if it's a big festival sometimes, but
why if it's a big festival? Because it's a big crowd, or because you can see their faces because it's light, or
I think it's just bigger crowds, and then you know that the PA is so loud, and not everyone's there to see you, so not everyone's as forgiving as your own fans. But I haven't really had any horrible moments, not for a while anyway. But you know, I think everyone has it from time to time, and I think that's a good thing to get a bit nervous now and again.
Yeah,
but I have it more like, I think since that advice from Pat and lockdown helped as well, because I just play guitar for the whole time, and I feel like I've come on so much more as a player, and I just have a bit more confidence in myself now, and so that and I think if I fuck up, who cares?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think I suffer from anxiety anyway, so like it always bleeds into other parts of my life.
Comes through the guitar, doesn't it? As I was saying, it's your personality, and I guess maybe that makes you a bit more like jazz inspired. I always think jazz is like schizophrenic with its playing, and not saying schizophrenia or anything, but you know, I'll just keep digging. So
I'm all right.
But that's so you suffer from anxiety, and what is it that what are your anxieties? Where does that come from?
I've had it since I was like 19, and I'm much better in control of it now. But I remember like when we first went to America, I was in a really bad way, and I kind of thought, I was like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this kind of thing. And then, you know, I had a bit of therapy and all that. And every time I get into a bit of a dark place, I go back to have a few sessions, clean my brain up and carry on, really. And then I kind of, last time I went, I got these kind of tools to deal with it a bit better. And I just kind of, you know, remember, you know, like when these, because mine's just like a little voice in my head almost just saying that I'm shit, or like this, or the worst possible thing is going to happen. And it's just kind of, I just kind of had to just say to it, like, thanks for coming. Like, anxiety is a survival tool, but not today. Thank you very much. I'm all right.
I ain't going to do for you.
I made this analogy, like, you know, when you go into a shop and you just want to look at stuff, but then the person comes over, oh, can I help you with anything? That's what anxiety is. And then I would always go, no, I'm all right, thanks. And then it's amazing because I can wire myself up, and I kind of just do that. I kind of close my eyes and go, not today, thank you very much. And then within 10 minutes, I forgot what I was anxious about in the first place. But, you know, asked me that 6 years ago, and no, thank you very much wouldn't have worked. So, no, a much better place now. And I think being open and talking about it that's the healthiest thing, because my first anxiety was all these horrible thoughts I had. I was the only one that had them. But then you talk to people and you go, oh, you have them too.
Everyone has them. That's the weird thing. I don't know anyone that doesn't have them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just about when to listen to it and when not to, and talking about it. And, you know, I'm not ashamed to say, yeah, go have therapy if you need it. It's fucking great.
Yeah, no, I agree with you for sure. And I love that. I love that way that you go, you imagine, you visualize it like you're in a shop and the shop assistant comes over, can I help you? And you're like, oh God, just leave me alone. Not
Yeah.
today, thank you. That's a
Yeah.
great way to deal with the anxiety. I love it. I'll have to try that one because, again,
Yeah.
I get it as well. I overthink things and I start thinking people don't like me. I'm rubbish at my job. I get that all the time, and sometimes it can be crippling sometimes. And it's
Oh, massively. I was waking up every day and, you know, I'd have all these horrible thoughts in my head. And it was just, I couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't get out of bed. And then it was like, oh, you got to go do a radio show. And I'm just like, fuck that. And then I just called my manager and I was just like, I've got to do something about this because I don't know what's going to happen, And then you kind of drown it with booze and stuff like that, which just makes it 10 times worse. And then it was just, so it's good and much better place. And yeah, I mean, even now though, like I'll go out with my mates and we'll have some beers, and then I wake up the next day, I was like, oh, what did I say? And I'm just like, Adam, no one cares. They're probably thinking about what they said, so don't worry about it.
And you're not that important. That's what someone.
No, exactly.
Do you really think you're that important that people are going to be thinking about you and what you did and what you said? And it's like, yeah, you're right. Who gives a shit about what? Like, yeah. It's funny.
So true.
It's funny. Yeah, it's interesting. And I do think that, like we said with social media, and we've all talked about this before, I think that's got a lot to answer for with people's anxiety and stuff like that.
Definitely, yeah.
But do you find, because I like playing the guitar, having that instrument, I think has been like the most wonderful thing that I've ever done in my life. And it has definitely saved me. Whereas, like if your brain just doesn't switch off and like you're going down in that pit and you're thinking about all those things that trigger your anxiety, you pick up the guitar, and for me, it's the only time I can switch my brain off from all that rubbish and just focus on what I'm doing. It's like meditation in a way.
Yeah, I agree totally. You can just get lost in it, and then you can kind of put the rest of the world to the side for a bit, and so I love that. I can just, when you get, and you notice sometimes when you're in that kind of Zen mode, when you're like, how long have I been here for?
Yeah.
And you just kind of like sat there playing. So no, it's a great escapism for sure. I love it. And, I'll just record, I've got like thousands of voice memos on my phone. I'll just start writing shitty songs, and that just kind of tie a bow in whatever I'm feeling, kind of put it to the side, and maybe no one will ever hear them. And when I'm on a plane, sometimes I'll just go back and listen, have a little chuckle to myself. But no, it's a great tool for just escaping the outside world, really.
Yeah. Right. On that note, I'm going to let you go and get on with your day. What have you got planned for the rest of the day? I'm
going back up to I live near Nottingham now, and I'm going to go see my friends tonight. We're all going out in Nottingham, and we have this thing called Chicken Club, where we all go to get some wings usually on a Wednesday, and try and eat the spiciest wings possible, and basically just get on the beers all night, and usually end up in a casino or something like that. And because it was four of us, like my best mates from home, and we even got T-shirts made and everything, and now we have to when someone wants to join the club, wants to come on the night out, they've got to do an initiation. So we have to give them have you ever seen Hot Ones?
That's food. Is it like that?
No, it's just like we'll get some wings, but that we always bring our own sauces or whatever, and the hottest stuff possible. And we've got an initiation tonight actually. So
what are you going to get them to do?
There's this sauce called the Bomb in Beyond Insanity, and it's the hottest thing known to man. So he's got to have a wing with that smothered in it, and then it's just a laugh. Right? It's just an excuse for us all to go out and get pissed and hang out. It's lovely.
That's amazing. All right, well, enjoy. I hope your friend passes.
Well, yeah. I don't think you can fail, really. You just got to put up with the pain.
Well, I would definitely fail that for sure. I can't cope with spicy food.